do it too. Like I just keep them in my house.
There's your Tupperware.
Yeah, you have to keep it.
So
Maybe get a sticky that just says
have to
keep
do,
this.
have to do something different next time.
Yeah.
Boy, there aren't very many people there. We had much better graphics.
Well, that's just can't compare that content. Oh goodness. I'm gonna have this.
I'm gonna sit on the bench.
Are you?
Everyone have an agenda who would like to have one? Does everyone have an agenda? Your song
One
is
of these
on the
other
back.
mics.
You see words, means you have a solo.
I'll get the other one. Sounds familiar, but
And the reason why they are considering here is because they understood us, that they came here and they died within all of our understanding. He said this is what you was told to do. And this one you don't have to. Very influential to CLOs when they came through. So I've already told her that, but anyway. It's already have a red sign.
Oh, is it? Is this not good?
Yeah, that is great. Red for yours. This one's not holding, it's not holding the star to it. For here, turn back. Say stand there on the test for fire.
All right.
But you don't have to talk directly into this requirement.
Testing, testing. Can you guys hear us okay? Oh, good. All right. All right. Let's see. It's now 1 o'clock. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Just before we get started, do we have a couple of the board members who are here? I saw Martha, Dick, and Scott. I saw as well. Thank you for attending. Now I'd like to introduce our chaplain. Etta, will you please lead us in prayer? You look surprised. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Welcome.
We'll let them come on in and get settled. For Jim, you can do like we do in church. When people walk in after the service has started, you just turn around and just look at them until they sit down. He's okay with that. Love you, Jim. Let's pause for a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful that you bring joy and laughter into our lives. Your scripture tells us that laughter is actually healing for our bones, and so everyone just got a dose of your medicine, a dose of your love, a dose of your healing touch in our lives. God, we thank you for a community where we have the safety and security, where we can laugh, where we can smile, where we can embrace one another in love, knowing that you called us together here as your people to live in fellowship and communion with one another. Now today, as we discuss the business of our community, we know that your hand is leading us and guiding us in all of our deliberations and in all of our paths. We know your word declares that since we're in your hand, No one can pluck us out, that your purpose, your will, and your plan for all of us, collectively and individually, will be done. So, God, we thank you for the residents. We thank you for our family members. We thank you for our board of directors. We thank you for our leadership. We thank you for our employees. But most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. It's in his name that we acknowledge that you are here and present through your Holy Spirit. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Etta. We're going to shift the agenda around a little bit. I want to bring Cher up, and Cher is going to cover residential living and independent living occupancy. And Cher is doing a fantastic job, and I'm grateful to her, and I'm grateful that she's going to share the information with you directly. Cher? Yeah, I'm told it's a choir mic.
Can you hear me on this mic? Great. The good news is we don't have anyone moving in until July because we've kept the guys so busy with move-in after move-in after move-in after move-in. We're filling us up with good new residents. So right now we have year-to-date occupancy fee move-ins of $2,331,900. We have contracted, scheduled to move in, $149,000. Contracts pending awaiting medical reports, and I just got 2 of those medical reports just before I walked over here, $450,000. And contracted and contracts pending, that means $599,000 ready to move in when we get those finished. So year-to-date, life occupancy fees collected upon those pending move-ins, $2,930,900. And that's $554,900 more than the total year 2022. I just got a text from somebody who wants to move in. That was perfect. I'll talk fast. We will be welcoming Mary Acevedo from Lakeland, Florida, soon. Dan and Brenda Carter from Port Charlotte, Florida, soon. Jimmy Spake from Anderson, South Carolina, in a few months, couple of months maybe. We added another person to the waiting list in May, so that gives us 47 people on the waiting list. We've had 25 residents transfer within the community already this year. And we have 2 notices to vacate. I'm still waiting for the keys on those. They haven't made their completion yet. We've had 13 deaths, so that's where all of these homes come from. When I wrote this report, we had 1 house and 1 duplex unsold, but got the keys to another duplex yesterday. So 1 house and 2 duplexes unsold. I'm working on those, and 9 apartments unsold. You all filled the chapel for the style show, and it was really great because we had special guests on the front rows, lots of residents who were modeling, and it was really a nice event. We had 3 prospects scheduled tours with us from there. And one of those tours said, when I come, you don't have to bother to show me a 1-bedroom apartment because I already met one of your neighbors, one of your residents, and she showed me her apartment. So you can just tell me the rest of the story. I already know what the apartment looks like, and I know I like that. So we are having the downsizing seminar, and we would love for you to join us if you want to. We've got some nice RSVPs from that also. And that we always learn a lot. I have 1 couple who have come to our downsizing seminar year after year after year, but they haven't quite figured it out yet. The sad part is when I get a phone call and someone says, so-and-so on your waiting list has waited too long. They can't come, they need assisted living, or maybe they need the health care center. So as you're referring your friends and as you're mentioning to them our community, I appreciate you telling them that time is of the essence. This morning I delivered hello Charlie. Didn't see you sitting there. This morning, I delivered a $1,000 resident referral to one of our residents, and he told me that he had referred 5 to us, but only 4 of them had moved in. So he thinks he's retired, but I gave him a job to get that other one finished and ready to move into. I see new residents. Karen Stevenson, would you like to stand up and say hello? Just joined us from South Carolina. I heard you were doing the happy dance when your truck arrived. Someone just joined the conference. So it's good your furniture is here. I don't see Regina and Richard in here. They just arrived from Pennsylvania. I think their truck is due today. Is it here now? Good. So we're moving them in as fast as we can, and then we'll have more move-in soon. We have several residents that are ready to transfer and transfer on site. So thanks for your support in coming to the Style Show. Please do join us at the downsizing. We'll be asking residents to share their stories about the good things and bad things that happen when they downsize. So be ready to be called on. And thank you very much.
All right. So very, very good news from Cher. It's always nice to start off a meeting like that with positive news. Also want to thank Rick and his team because, as Cher said, in order for people to move and transition into the community, there's a lot that goes behind it. You know, obviously, first, they have to know about our community and they have to want to look into our community. And then when they meet Cher, they get the full scope and picture of what the community is like and what we're about. But at that point, if they make that decision to say, let's move forward and let's move in, there's a lot of work that happens within the facilities team and the marketing team from that point to make sure that the development work, the construction work is done in a timely manner and is quality. So that is key, and very appreciative that our team has done a good job with Ryan Ellerby as well to make sure that we're on point in getting people what they need so they can get moved in a timely manner. So the next item on the agenda, I'm going to introduce Tasha. And Tasha's going to talk about the June programming for life enrichment, and then she's going to talk about assisted living occupancy. Tasha?
Hello, good afternoon. Ooh, there we go. Is that good? Right there? All right. It is so wonderful to see all of you. I missed you all very much. I had a procedure and I'm back, and you guys have no idea the love that I felt in my return, so thank you. We're going to keep going with the good news after Cher. Our life enrichment update, we have our annual Father's Day backyard brats on the 16th, so you can still RSVP. You've got a few more days to RSVP with Miss Amanda, so the last day for that is the 10th. And of course, with the backyard brats, we are doing 2 locations, so you can choose to either come to Drain Park or Helenberry Garden, whichever one's more convenient for you. We've got our longest day bake sale on the 29th. We're very excited for that. We had an incredible turnout last year and really raised a lot of money for the Alzheimer's Association, so we're looking to do that again. On the 20th, we have Miss Etta's graduation party. So we're very excited for that. She's deliberately not making eye contact with me. So we're so proud of her, so come show your pride and appreciation for Miss Etta that day. We do have an update for our life enrichment staffing. Miss Amanda is running things by herself again. We are really grateful for the clinical leadership in Miss Dawn and Katie that are mobilizing our CNAs and really supporting that effort while Miss Amanda runs activities by herself right now. We do have 4 interviews this week. So far, one of them's gone really well, and we've got a couple more to look forward to, so we're really hopeful there. That is assisted living. Oh, that's our life enrichment. Does anybody have any questions about life enrichment? Ooh. Sorry, I'm breathing into that. I'll reel it back. For our assisted living occupancy, I have more good news. We have 43 units occupied out of 47 total. That means we have 4 vacant, and that brings our percentage up to 91.49% occupied. So we finally got to the 90s, guys. Does anybody have any other questions? All right, thank you.
Now I'd like to ask Etta to come up. Etta's going to do the report for spiritual life.
Where we're all in tune for the summer months. We're grateful that Sue Mayo's been playing for us as Carol and Jerry Larson are in Minnesota. And Sue's been playing for us on the piano for us for our chapel services. And we've gotten a lot of new faces in chapel here lately. Our chapel services on Sunday at 10 o'clock, right here where you're sitting. And again, if you'd like to attend, you're more than welcome. I do still encourage those who are active in your church. Your church needs you, so don't feel guilty about attending your church and not attending chapel. That's the plan for the campus. When the day comes that you can no longer attend your church, then you're welcome to come and join us here. Or some folks even rotate. They'll do 2 Sundays at their church and a couple Sundays here. But if you're an active member of your church needs you. And I know a lot of times you don't hear that message from the pulpit, but that is it. I am not a spiritual pirate. I'm not trying to steal you from your congregation, okay? They do need your support, and you're the generation who is still giving physical as well as generous support. So continue to do that, and just know that I'm here to support you with that as well. We have a couple things coming up over the summer, some I'm in discussion with. Going to start working on developing a few more small group units on campus. A lot of ministry happens in the small group setting, and so if I call you and ask you to help be a facilitator of that, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. I won't put the burden on you. I don't want you to be the leader. The facilitator just means you may open your space, or you just make sure the materials are there, but you'll have full support from the Spiritual Life Committee as well as myself. Spiritual Life Committee did meet, and we did advance from 3 members to about 10 now, which is great. So we've got some plans coming up for that as well. One thing you will hear about over the summer, just to give you time to get ready, is for the Advent devotionals. We would like those to be written by our residents in campus. So it takes us a little time to get those publications together. So if you get a notice toward the end of August, 1st of September, don't think that it's too early. Start thinking about Advent, scriptures for Advent, what you would like to write about, and we'll ask for volunteers with that, because we would like to have an in-house publication for our Advent that we can share thoughts from one another. Trying to think what else. I know I've got to introduce to you, Maddie, come on up with me. I have an intern student that I have been so excited about. Joe can tell you that. We've been talking as part of my strategic plan. I'm still working on my strategic plan as if nothing changed. So as part of that plan, it was bringing in intern students and volunteers who will work with me through the chaplain's office, but also have an introduction to the campus in several areas. And I can tell you, many of you already know, I've been bragging about Maddie. She is fantastic. I'm going to put her on the spot. But she's a student from Polk State College. She's in the therapy rotation. And some of you might remember when I was Dean of Residence, Activity Director, or whatever that title you all gave me, I would have students come from Polk State over the summer, and they would shadow me because they really can't do a lot of hands-on for their first rotation. And so part of my goal with Maddie is to make sure that she knows the processes for admissions, which I've worked just about every department except maintenance, so I pretty much know that. So I can help her, kind of guide her through if someone were coming to our campus for rehab is what her goal is. So anywhere from admissions, we've already covered billing, what insurances to have and not have, which insurances are a little more difficult for us to recover from, She's working with the team, and I'm so thankful to Kim, our therapy director. She's working with the team on different diagnoses and different interventions. And Maddie's already brought some of her own interventions for some of our residents who've been a little, let's say, a little standoffish. I think is kind of the right word for that. Some that haven't just meshed into the community and began to attend activities. She's been really good with one-on-ones and encouraging them to kind of blend with other residents and introducing them. And this is just day number 3 for her. So I'm gonna have her slow down just a little because by the time we get midweek, there'll be nothing else for me to teach her. But she's been doing fantastic. I'm excited about her being here. She'll be here for the month of June. The rule of thumb is for their second rotation, they're not supposed to do the same campus, but I have fought for students to do their second rotation here, and believe it or not, I've actually won that appeal. And so Maddie's one of those students that I'm gonna ask her professor if she can do her second rotation here, where she'll actually be hands-on in therapy and give us another hand, and possibly, if the opportunity presents itself, she may even end up applying for some part-time work or something here. That's the goal. So I would like for you to just welcome her with a nice round of applause. And if you have any questions for Maddie, if it's above her scope, ask me, please. No, but she's really good about doing that as well. Thank you, Maddie. I think that's it, unless you all have questions for me. Does anyone have questions for me? I have some good news. Yeah, I do, Bonnie. I got some good news. Actually, I got 3 good news like yesterday and today. Can I announce them? Yeah. Okay. So I sent my dissertation off to the printer. All corrections have been done. I didn't stop. I just went ahead and got those done. I had until July 15th, but I don't want to see any more deadlines. Not like I'm done with deadlines. And they told me it would take 8 to 10 weeks for them to review it and to bind it and to have it published. I got an email yesterday that my book is now being bound and I should have copies in my hand before we have our party. I got an email today that said that I have been selected as one of the Beeson Scholars for Asbury, and they are this is all your work, though. This is all your work. And what that means is they're going to give me a stipend to help me further my work in ministry. So I had to write a letter to the sponsor for that scholarship explaining just what my dissertation is about and how I want to disseminate it. That's my private thoughts. And so my coach is helping me with that on how we're actually going to publish the work. My prayer and your prayer, because I'm going to give you homework. You know I'm known for that. Your prayer is in accordance with mine, and the Bible says that when we touch and agree on one thing in one accord with God, He gives us our desires. And my desire is that Florida Presbyterian will remain my base for ministry, which means I don't go anywhere, I don't move, but I'm able to do whatever the next chapter is that God would have for me to do from here. If you are in agreement with that. I'll stay as long as you all want me to stay, but I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. And so my dissertation now has been copyrighted as of last night, and I will give you the link for that on ProQuest if you're...
Somebody on the phone, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone have a question on the phone? Okay, but I'll make that link available if you're bored and you just want something to read. But I also ordered an extra copy, and I'll get with Kathy Valsden and see if we can make a copy available in the library, if you all just want to kind of thumb through and just see what that was all about. But I'll save my speech for the 20th, but I'm so grateful to you all because this has been a community degree. It's not a single degree, it's a community degree, and many of you have been there since day one and helped me walk through this process. So I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
So Etta left something out that she shared with me this week that I thought was absolutely amazing, and it was regarding what is going to happen with your dissertation. Many people have gone through education where they've written a thesis paper for their master's degree or a dissertation for the doctorate, and it ends up on a shelf. And if my kids ask me, where's your thesis paper for your master's degree, I would say, I have no idea. Now, I want her to share with you what is happening with her dissertation, where it's live and it's impactful. So, please.
Okay, so Joe's trying to take me out of my humility state here, but no, when I was at campus for graduation, those of you that watched knew that it was the 100th year for Asbury, and so all the students graduated together, which they don't do. And students in the master's program were looking for me, and I was like, why are you looking for me? They said, because our professor, who was my coach, had already begun discussing my dissertation and beginning to teach it in his classes. And I thought, ooh, okay. But he told me, he talked to me, and he said that he wants to teach my dissertation as part of his curriculum because it not only affects the AME church, it's worldwide. It's a problem that we deal with in all churches today. And he's also going to help me to relay that message to our bishop in order to go ahead and get that work started. So there's going to be some opportunities for me to do some teaching along with him, in conjunction with him, to make sure that my work doesn't just stay on the shelf. That was the whole intent, is to do a dissertation that was a live and breathing document that doesn't just sit and the work is done. So I'm so grateful to God for opening up that opportunity and just letting it be known that the work is all divine. So thank you, Joe.
And we're very thankful that this is your ministry, and the work that you do here with our residents and our staff makes a difference in all our lives. So thank you, Etta. I'm not Siobhan, if you haven't noticed, but Siobhan is taking some well-deserved PTO. Siobhan is our administrator of Porter McGrath, which is our long-term skilled care as well as our short-term stay rehab facility. Siobhan would have shared with you occupancy, and the occupancy right now is averaging right at about budget. We're a little bit over budget at about 55 people. We have rooms for 66. So from an occupancy percentage, it's very good. We're doing really well. We're a little bit down this week. I think this morning we were at about 50, but we've been as high as 60, 61. So we're on a good path in terms of occupancy. For those of you who were here at the last chat, you may recall meeting Dawn Palmer. Dawn is our new director of nursing. Dawn came to us from the Rohr Home. The Rohr Home is a county home, skilled nursing, long-term care, primarily facility, and they are owned by the county, and they are going to be either closing, and they're trying to find a buyer to buy the Rohr Home. So they're going through a very difficult process right now. And I think the world of Dawn, because we had interviewed her before and really wanted her for the position, and she said, I don't want to leave Rohr until I know they're on a better footing. And so that speaks volumes to someone's loyalty and who they are as a person. And once the decision was made by the county commissioners on what was going to happen at Rohr, they brought in some temporary interim leadership, and she felt like now's the time. So we're very, very fortunate, very glad to have Dawn here with the team. Right now we're in the survey window. We've been in the survey window for a while. The state is woefully short of staff to come out and do surveys in skilled care. And so timing of this, usually by now, we would have had our annual survey. So it could be any day. So I know that Siobhan gets back on Wednesday, so I'm kind of counting the days and praying that they don't show up. And then Dawn will be out for a period of time. She had a scheduled trip with her family. Her kids have graduated this year, so they had a very special trip planned. So I'll be counting those days while she's gone, hoping that we don't have survey at that point in time. The team is working very hard to get prepared for providing the information needed in the survey process. We've had a lot of transition in Port of McGrath. Our focus right now is trying to recruit and hire and retain quality staff. That's getting harder and harder in our field. There's definitely a shortage of nurses, and when you think of quality nurses, that even makes it more difficult. So Dawn, one of the staff told me, and I'm glad Dawn's not here because she wouldn't want me to tell this story, but one of the CNAs came up to me and said, I've never seen a DON do what she did. And I held my breath and I thought, it's got to be good. And she said, her first day here, she went room to room and spent time with every resident. And that CNA said, that impressed me so much. I've never seen a DON go room to room and spend the time with every single resident. And that's what Dawn is about. And that is where we had hoped to get her part of our organization earlier, but God has a plan, and we're just thankful that she's with us now. And very solid person as a human being, and exceptionally solid as a DON. So we are in that process. Any questions you would have asked Siobhan that you'd like to ask me, I'll do the best I can to answer. Any questions on Port of McGrath? Okay. If not, I'm going to invite Rick, our Environmental Services Director, and I'll stay up here as well to talk about hurricane preparedness. We're in that period once again. You may recall from the letter that went out that this season is supposed to not be as active of a hurricane season as the past 2 or 3 years, but nobody really knows until we get into the season. And as one of the residents reminded me, Joe, it only takes one. And that resident is spot on. It only takes one. And so we never assume that we know everything and know what we're doing and what's going to happen. From last year where we had 2 hurricanes almost back to back, fortunately no major hit onto the campus and no major damage, no one injured. So that was good, but we learned things. You know, Tasha and Katie and our team, we went through a process where we evaluated what went well, what didn't go well. In a resident chat, I asked you guys to tell me what you think went well and what you think didn't go well. So we had all of that feedback to be able to feed into our process this year so we can be best prepared. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick, and he's going to share a little bit on where we're at with preparation.
I'm just not going to be looking at my phone the whole time, but I do have my notes on here for hurricane season, okay? So I don't have a paper copy. Can everybody hear me all right? I adjusted the mic. I didn't want to be too loud. We're good? Okay. Like Joe said, every hurricane season we learn something. Last year, he said it wasn't too major, but we are still recovering on roofs around campus. And so I'm having another roof put on this weekend, but we do have damage still on the B building that we are still working on roofs on that building. But very fortunate, I mean, we did have some trees down, but nothing major like in years past. No trees on houses. We had them on the side, but nothing on the houses caused no major structure damage. But prior to hurricane season, it's like Joe said, we're in our state window. The state is very strict on generators. We've already had our generators with the load bank test, and we do a 90% load bank, which means we load that generator up as much as it can handle to make sure that our generators are going to handle all the air conditioning systems, all the lighting, the receptacles, the elevators, even in the dining services, because we have 4 generators on campus, 2 for the health center, one for Nora Rife, which runs the dietary department, which does the walk-in coolers, the freezers, anything electronic or electrical in the dining services. And then we have one for Nora Rife. And so the Nora Rife generator does that's one of our safe areas along with the health center. And so if we should have anything that, any houses or anything with damage, we could always evacuate up here where there's cool areas and any common areas for air conditioning. Like I said, those are our two safe areas. Prior to hurricane season, tomorrow we're going to have in-service with staff to let them know their duties and responsibilities and our expectations of what needs to be done on campus. But we evaluate the campus. We make sure that that the trees are checked. We have an ongoing tree program, and I know there's a lot of residents that have some concerns about trees. I know you do. And so we have them coming out hopefully within the week that we're going to evaluate trees on campus, but that's ongoing. We do that annually or monthly. I mean, we just go around and we have a list. So if you have a concern about a tree on campus, call Lisa. We have a tree list. And so we'll put you on the tree list and we'll make sure that we have that tree evaluated. We go around, we also check prior to hurricane season, we have a list of residents with awnings. We wait till the hurricane is going to be close to our campus, then we start prepping the campus. So when we know that there's a watch, we are evaluating the campus already. We are looking at debris that could be picked up and moved. We are looking at awnings, like I said. We are looking at around the balconies of Four Bunker Manor and the A building. There's a lot of stuff out there that the residents have on the balconies. And we will help move those items, but it's going to be up to you to make sure you store them properly. We will help you move them in the units. We do not have storage on campus for tables and chairs and plants. There's a lot on the balconies that you need to think about when or if that we have to clear those balconies off. One year we had it wasn't even during a hurricane, but it was just a bad storm. We had a glass tabletop fly off the top of the balcony at Four Bunker Manor and shattered down below. So and just being on the lake, we get a lot of winds off that lake. So we just need to keep that in mind when putting things out on the balcony. Like I said, we are training staff tomorrow, and we have 2 in-services, so we're going to go over that with our staff. Things that we do not do, because we do have residents that will call in a work order, will you please board up my windows? We do not board up windows here. We don't have enough plywood to board up all the windows here. With 115 houses and the apartments, there's just no way we could board up windows. And we don't encourage you to put duct tape across windows, because in the past we've had that happen. And then the residents want us to take the duct tape off. You know what happens when you try removing duct tape off glass? It's not easy to do. It's kind of like removing window tint. So we don't do that. So during a hurricane warning, we'll do a final sweep. We have cots. We have about 75 cots that we have, and we have 100 mattresses. Up in the ALF, we would put mattresses out for the staff, because we don't want residents getting down if we had to do an evacuation on an A building or B building. We don't want residents down on the ground, so we have cots for the residents. We have, if you'll see these black brackets on walls throughout the buildings here, that's for emergency lighting were areas that do not have generators, like Four Bunker Manor, Holland Delay, and Nora Rife. Some parts of Nora Rife don't have generator too. So those black mounts are for emergency lighting that we have throughout the campus that we put out. And they're LED, and they'll last up to 10 to 12 hours, and we could charge them back up on the generators. We have a portable generator. I know in the years past when we've lost power in Terrace Gardens or on Highland Street, Lakeside Courts, a lot of the residents didn't have no way to charge their cell phones up. So we have a plan now. We have a propane generator that we are going to not backfill, we're going to have receptacles put in the MacArthur Center, and it's going to operate the stove, the microwave, the coffee maker, the refrigerator, and we'll have receptacles there so you can charge up your cell phones. But it's not going to have the air conditioning on it. The air conditioning in the MacArthur Center is 3-phase, and our generator will not run that. But at least you can have an area to come up and sit down and be able to charge your cell phone up and socialize with other residents. And we'll have that area set up. After the storm, I know last year Tasha's team did a good job, and Katie's team. After the storm, we'll evaluate the campus, and we'll look at anything that's down. Last year, we had some down power lines on Lakeside Court and Lakeside Avenue, but we'll evaluate that. And then the staff will go out, and we'll go start knocking on doors, because if the phones are out and the power's out, there's no way of communicating back and forth who's here and who's not. And we will make sure you're safe in your home, make sure that you're good. And if you do decide to evacuate, make sure you call Ann or Carol up in administration and let them know that you're evacuating the campus. And that's important for us to know too, so we're not wasting our time looking and trying to find out where you're at. Okay? Anybody have any questions or concerns? Or Joe, do you want to add anything to what I said?
No, I think you got it.
Okay. Okay. Any concerns for maintenance or anything that I need to address while I'm up here? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any information about when we might get the AC restored on the second floor ALF?
The question is, when will the air conditioning be restored on the second floor ALF? Matter of fact, I just got off the phone with the contractor. I'm working with Payne Air Conditioning right now. I have to rent a crane. The new piece of equipment has to come here. We have to remove the old equipment off the roof. So I don't have a good guesstimate for you on that, but we are working on that right now, and I'm dealing with two contractors on that because the first contractor is going to sell Payne Air Conditioning the equipment, then Payne has to get it up there and have it installed, and then they have to, it's not a normal air conditioning system. The condenser for the ALF is one condenser for 9 apartments. Same way with the first floor and the same with the third floor. We have one so if we lose the condenser for one floor, we're talking 9 units are going to be without air conditioning, or the first floor is 10 units that will be without air conditioning. So it's a very flawed system that we do have, and we are in the parts. It's a LG unit, and guess where LG is made at? China. So we are really we're not dragging our feet by no means, but it's just hard to get parts right now from China.
Rick, will you speak to the interim actions that have been taken so people don't think they're not getting any?
Okay. Yeah, what we did is to make the residents comfortable as much as possible. I know that it's inconvenience for the noise and things, but what we did is we bought 9 portable AC units, and they are in each resident's unit. So they are getting air conditioning. It's just may not be as comfortable as a central air conditioner it's just a portable and it's temporary. Yeah, they're somewhat noisy, yes ma'am, you're right, it is. But we are doing our best to get the parts in here as soon as possible. And as I get more information, I'll pass it on also. But I just found this out today, what I just told you. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Okay. So, as Cher covered the residential living and IL occupancy, I'm going to focus on the affiliation sponsorship update. So the last time we met, we talked about due diligence and the process of due diligence. We are, I would say, about 80–90% complete with the due diligence portion of the effort. What due diligence basically is we've asked of them to provide us with a lot of information that our team is reviewing, and they've asked us to provide them with a lot of information that they're reviewing. So as of this point, things are going well in the due diligence. There's nothing that we have found that would be of concern or major issue to prohibit the continuing discussion. So we're continuing that process. We've also completed site visits. They've come to our campus. They sent their people that oversee assisted living, that oversee skilled care, that oversee environmental services, that oversee dining, housekeeping, all of the department management level. They sent their corporate team here to meet with our staff. So all of our staff have had opportunities, other than Tasha, who was out, has had opportunities to meet with their potential corporate leaders within their departments. That has gone well. The feedback that we receive from both our staff as well as the feedback that we received from their staff was very positive. We had a group of board members, resident board members, resident council officers who went with our members of our management team to do site visits of 2 of their life plan communities in St. Pete. And so we did a similar thing where we met with counterparts, and I think one of our board member residents went to a 3rd campus, so we'll be getting the feedback there as well. We toured the campuses, and then we had lunch in the 2nd campus in the main dining room of their new independent living apartment building. The discussions that we had there, the feedback from our staff and the board members who attended has been very positive. I think what was important to us was due diligence is paper. You know, it's basically paper. We really, like they wanted to see us in operation, we wanted to see them in operation. Because at the end of the day, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where it's real. And Etta got to meet with a chaplain there and get a feel for, you know, where are there common ground and common thought and approach. And again, the feedback there was, we felt, and the feedback that our team provided was, it feels like us, just bigger. I kept hearing that over and over. It feels like us, just bigger. And that shouldn't be a big surprise to anyone because they were developed a year before we were. And they are founded in the Presbyterian Church. So the difference is their leadership at that point in time determined that in order to expand the mission, they needed to grow. So they have, I believe it's 11 continuing care communities, and they have, I believe it's 10 affordable housing, independent living affordable housing. And of their continuing care retirement communities or life plan communities, I think all but 3 were acquisitions. So the 2 that we saw were acquisitions. So it gave us a really good sense of, you know, do they invest after they've acquired, do they invest in their campuses? And overwhelmingly, they invest in the campuses. Building new buildings, renovating spaces, creating new dining venues. We saw that firsthand, you know, on these site visits. We had, Marcia was there. She was able to talk to the HR person to kind of get a feel for things on how they approach their staff. The staff that we bumped into as we were going around were very pleasant, like our staff. Hello, how are you? Where are you guys from? Residents that we talked to as they were coming out of programming. Are you all moving into our campus? You know, and just very positive, very pleasant people and happy people. People that you can see in the assisted living and in the skilled care were well cared for, very well cared for. So the site visits have been very effective. There is still a site visit where a few of our board members and myself are going to go to Winter Park to see 2 of their campuses in Winter Park with their CEO and with their key board members. So that way, again, our board and their board will be able to talk and kind of get a feel for things, you know, from a governance perspective and an operating perspective. So that will be a positive. Yesterday, they had requested, can a few of their board members come here and do a tour? And we said, absolutely. So we're trying to get that on the calendar so we can tour them of our campus, like they're going to tour our board and myself of their campuses in Winter Park. So from a site visit perspective, that will complete that part of the process. We are in the process now in terms of the next step is the affiliation agreement, and the affiliation agreement is the final agreement. We've had a letter of interest from them that we've received very early on in the process saying we're interested in talking with you. And then we received, after that, a letter of intent saying we want to have an exclusive discussion and work through due diligence with you. That was the letter of intent. The next step is the affiliation agreement. And so we're in that process. I would tell you that it is not a done deal. I had a board member ask me that last week. And he said, well, isn't this pretty much a done deal? And I said, absolutely not. Nothing is a done deal until the document's signed. You just don't know at any point in time, and for those of you who've been in business and have done things like this, you don't know until it's all done and until things have been signed and it's complete. And so I think what I would share, and I talked with Terry, the CEO from Westminster this morning, and we both said everything is going really well. He had shared that his management team had met yesterday, and their focus is this is going to be an opportunity that is good for their organization, and we feel the same way, that this will be good for our residents, good for our staff, and good for the future sustainability of Florida Presbyterian Homes. And so even though everything is going the way you would hope, you just don't know. So I think that's where we're at in the process. If you ask me specific things about their operation, like are they going to do this, are they going to do that, I don't know. I think that's their responsibility to tell you, should this move forward? So like if you ask me about the dining program and are they going to do this or that, I can't say, oh yeah, I don't know. It's really their responsibility as they become management of the organization to identify what their policies are, what their protocols are. The key things that you guys told us was key, and our board knew was key, was that they adhere to the existing residency agreements that we have with you. That's, to me, is if I was a resident, that would be like my first thing, is are they going to abide by the agreement we already have? And the answer is yes. The second thing you told us was the Loving Care Fund. And our board had that on their agenda and on their docket from day one, saying that Loving Care Fund should stay only for Florida Presbyterian Home residents. So those are the things that we heard from you were key, and they are committed to both of those things. So very positive in that way. So at this point, are there questions that, and if I can't answer, the reason I can't answer is because I don't know the answer, or it's because under the affiliation agreement, there's certain things that we have to keep confidential until it's final. Okay, thoughts, comments, questions? Are you going to play a little tune?
You don't want me to do that?
All right. You don't want me to sing either.
Okay. The microphone.
Any comments, questions? And again, I'm sorry if I can't answer some. Please understand. Hey,
Yeah,
Charlie.
Joe, if you could make an educated guess, if everything went as you would like to see it go, how far out are we looking until this transition is complete?
Great question. So what Charlie's asking is he's asking if I could project out how much longer this is going to take. I really don't know. I've never done this before. So for me to say, I think it's going to be this date or that date, I would, as I've shared, I think we're moving in a good, steady path. And I had a number of residents say, if we're going to do this, let's move efficiently and effectively. Let's not drag. And I would say we're not dragging. You know, we're moving efficiently and effectively, but I can't really project a specific
Less than 10
date.
years.
Yeah, less than,
Now-
that I'll commit to, less than 10 years, that's great.
Okay, now I'm on the list. and
Yes. Have you been on the list long?
I'm probably the longest one on the list. I'm on the list.
Good you're on the list.
Do you think it would be to my advantage to affiliate before this is complete or after it's complete?
Oh, so the question that Charlie's asking is, would it be advantageous to affiliate before or after?
Actually move in, yeah.
But yeah, move in and or not. I honestly think if you see a house that you are liking, move in now. And you heard
Prior
Cher,
to the completion.
you heard Cher say how many times we have people say, "Oh, I wish I'd have done this sooner." And I think that way you have the contract. It's your contract. You know what it is, and it's all set. And the more you wait, what we wouldn't want to happen is something happen health-wise, and all of a sudden you're not able to take advantage of all the things that we have to offer.
Just looking at the value of it, should I
Right.
do it before or after? But it sounds like it's before is the best idea.
I think because you know what's known. You know, you don't know after. I can't speak to how they're going to approach contracts for future. I don't know.
Fair enough.
At least you know this. Other comments, thoughts, questions, ideas, concerns? Please, Nancy. Thanks, Seta.
Are we not going to be Florida Presbyterian Homes Incorporated anymore?
So the question is, are we going to be called Florida Presbyterian Homes or not? Right now, I don't know. I do know that their other communities are Westminster. You know, they don't have other life plan communities that are called different names, and they do that for branding. You know, and I'll tell you, one of the things that has been discussed even at the board level was the potential of changing our name before this ever started. The key is, are we here to serve older adults, or are we here to promote a specific belief? And it's kind of both. And it's not by proselytizing for the Presbyterian Church, but it's by living as an example of a Presbyterian ministry that serves older adults. That's the connection. And I would tell you, of all the communities that I've gotten to know, we make that connection very well with our residents and with the community. I would also tell you, so do they. You know, and talking with, and interesting how small a world this is, but when we went to the second campus, their chaplain came up to me and said, you know, do you recognize me? Do you remember me? How many of you have had a circumstance where somebody comes up to you, you know, do you remember me? And I went, sorry, I do not. And she said, the first continuing care retirement community I ever stepped foot on was with Pastor Spencer Lawrence at your community in Schaumburg, Illinois. And she said, I remember you, and when I went to that community, that's when I said, I want to work as a chaplain in this field. And I thought, my gosh, isn't that a small world? It's amazing how God brings us into these circles. But I would say, Nancy, the focus is on the mission and the ministry. They may change the name. I don't know. But the right reason is the ministry, and they're definitely focused on that. Other comments, thoughts, questions? Okay. And I would tell you as well, should this happen, we will be coming to you together and communicating together. So it will be me introducing them to you and then stepping back and them sharing with you their thoughts and their hopes and aspirations, and then asking you, what are your thoughts, hopes, and aspirations? So it will be a formal process. It won't be, well, we just sent a letter and there's nobody's talking, but we'll be here in this room together communicating and hearing your thoughts and questions as well. With that, oh, please, that's all right. Yep.
Will the staffing here probably stay very stable?
So the question is, will the staffing here stay stable? Probably fairly stable. I would say yes, because there's, all you read about in the paper is how hard it is to find good quality staff. So I would say the vast majority, 90+%, are right here and are going to continue to serve, you know, and
Now, does the
be
board
here.
of directors remain the same for each
Good question.
facility?
So Charlie's asking, does the board of directors remain the same or does it change? Structurally, there will be some change within the board of directors. I don't know the exact numbers. I can't tell you, well, it's going to be this many of ours, this many of people they recruit. I don't have that. It'll come with the agreement. It'll be presented when we meet with you together. But yeah, there will be change in that. Yes, sir. Other comments, thoughts, questions? Anyone else who went on the site visits, if you have anything you'd like to share? Carol?
The other visits that you made, were there residents, members of the boards of the communities they lived in?
They have resident councils, so they do have resident councils. The only board member that was there, and Scott, if I'm wrong, correct me, please, was one gentleman who was not a resident, if I remember, but we only met one board member on the site visits. But they maintain resident councils, so they don't come in. If we didn't have a resident council, they would initiate a resident council. But since we have one, they'll maintain what we have. Judy? Yeah, it's
Have a
structurally.
residence council structurally?
Yeah, I mean, so, but it's it's a non-issue. Yeah, and so there is a resident council already, so they'll continue to function with the resident council. Other comments, questions, Trudy?
Do you have any idea of what your status will be?
Oh, so question, what will my status be? I had a staff person from Environmental Services on Monday come up to me and said, so they're getting rid of you. That's terrible. I said, oh my gosh. I go, what are you hearing? And he goes, well, that's the word on the street. And I said, well, it's a little different. When I was interviewing here, one of the things that I had shared with the board was, if there's a point in time in our organization where we were not in a position to do the things we needed to do in order to assure a long and sustainable future and living out our mission and ministry, I would go to the board and say we need to take a different route. And that's exactly what happened. And the process is, do you really need two CEOs? No. And I know Terry, as the CEO of that organization, is very good. So for me, I will be open to where God takes me. And wherever God's plan is, I will gleefully follow, because that's what brought me here. That's exactly what brought me here. So it's out there, and I'll see where God takes me. But I've enjoyed every minute here. And I know this is the right thing. I just know it's the right thing. Martha?
Who did you say, Terry?
He's the CEO. He's the CEO of Westminster, Terry Rogers. Yeah, he's the CEO of Westminster. Of all the facilities. He's the corporate CEO, right. Martha?
Yes, I am a board member and resident representative. I was the one that went to Jacksonville, not St. Petersburg, because I have friends who live at the Westminster community between Jacksonville and St. Augustine on Julington Creek. So I had a tour with a resident, which gave me a little different approach. He has lived there for 12 years. He's an individual that knows everyone. And so we went around and looked at housing from the older houses to the new memory unit that they had just built. I talked with residents. I ate lunch in the dining room. And I came away with a very positive attitude. And as you said, it's very much like us, only bigger. So, and I went into what they call their rapid recovery, like our rehab, and it was clean, it was friendly, it was light, and the people looked, and I went in one of the empty rooms. It was very nice. So as I said, I came away with a very positive attitude.
Thanks for sharing that. Other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, all right. We have employee town hall meetings tomorrow, it was as shared earlier, and I'll be saying the same thing that I've shared with you with our employees tomorrow. So from a communication process, we always start with the residents, and then we do the same presentation so there's not different information going to different groups. It's the same information. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. Are there any other topics or things you guys want to talk about? Any other issues, concerns, comments, topics? Okay, Lucy? Okay, all right. All right, thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you. You okay?